Good afternoon, everyone. This is Rebecca with Red True Crime, and happy Halloween. As you can tell, I'm a spice girl. Yay, see? Anyway, so if you see in the description where I said, where is Marissa, or has she been found? I've been getting a lot of messages from a lot of people regarding the skeletal remains that were found a couple weeks ago off Alamance Church Road. And if you saw my YouTube video, I went out there to the spot to give you an idea, where they found those remains. Now, there's not been any update on any news media or anything saying that they've identified who those remains are. Just that they've been there for some time and that they're skeletonized. So, Marissa went missing January 14th of 2024. As of now, she is officially missing 9.5 months. November 14th will make 10 months on the nose. So, in theory, those remains could be Marissa. They could be. I have had people ask me what I truly think, and I say, it's possible. It could be her or it could not be her. I don't want to put out any bad vibes, but based on the description of the clothing that they found with the body, there are pictures of Marissa wearing a coat very similar, or jacket very similar to what they found with the remains. I had someone else reach out to me and say, hey, she did dress very tomboyish because the clothing, the pants, they were men's pants, but the tennis shoes is what threw me off, because they were Air Force Ones, and they were size 9.5. So that's a very small shoe size for a man, but it could be for a woman. So again, it could go either way. So let's go back over her timeline. January 14th, she left High Point with Tasha Poplin and her friend Janaja Miller. They stopped off at someone's place. Marissa picked up some pills and then went on into Greensboro and went to Modalo's house. She stayed there for a bit. And then Naja got bored and left. Went to her boyfriend's house. She and Mo eventually get into an Uber and go to another bar, which they end up eventually at the 117 Sofa Bar and Lounge. Because the previous bar really doesn't make much of a difference. It's when they get to the 117 is where things start going down the path when she goes missing. Because once she gets there, she's there for the remainder of the night. There have been other people who were there that night that said they didn't see her drinking much. She didn't seem like she was on anything. And she was there until last call. And that's when she walked out the door with Jersey money bag. And again, she was asked, do you know this guy? She said, yes, he's a good guy. I'm good. She left. From there, they go to the Airbnb. And they're there for a little while. We don't know if she ever eventually went inside. We do know a 911 call was placed about that Airbnb because of a party that was going on with young girls and whatnot. Guns, drugs, alcohol, you name it, everything was going crazy that night. Some have speculated it was Marissa who made that call. Sarah Carmichael went on a podcast about 4 months ago and said no, it was not. So, I don't know on that one. But at some point, she leaves the Airbnb with Jersey and goes over to the Exxon. Now, the Airbnb and the Exxon are very close together. And I did video showing you where the Airbnb was. But from there, they go to the Exxon. Now, she and Jersey get into an altercation. Verbal, physical, I have no idea. But it prompts him to kick her out of the car and leave her at the gas station. He threw everything out except her phone. She goes inside the gas station, calls 911, which we've heard that call multiple times. She's mad, she doesn't know where she is, she doesn't have her phone. And then you hear someone come in and say, do you need a ride? Now at that point, that's when Shauna Lely comes into play. And she leaves with him, and we don't see her again. Now, Sarah has said that she did not know Marissa was missing until she saw missed phone calls on her phone around noon that next day, or that Sunday morning. But on that podcast she was on, Black and Missing, I think that was called, She says she never noticed the missed phone calls, that she got up and didn't see Marissa in the house, which got her upset. And that's when she and Naja got into it. And she said she kicked Naja out of the house. Naja says, well, actually, she says Naja just left the house. Naja says she was kicked out and didn't get any of her belongings. So, I don't know what the truth on that is. But Sarah has changed her story twice about what her movements were that morning or that day. You know, Marissa called her stepdad in the middle of the night from Shawnee Lely's phone, wanting to talk to Naja. My question is, why didn't she call Naja directly? Why did she have to call her stepdad? Tony, the stepdad, where is he in all this? That man has not made one statement in the last 9 months about Marissa being missing. And Sarah wants to go on and say how he's a father to her and all this other crap. Then what's going on? Why has he not said anything? You know, and it's crazy because, you know, Mo had an event that night. Mo Dollars had an event that night at 117. And everybody takes pictures and everybody takes video and they upload that stuff. It's all over the internet. But there's nothing from that night, which I find bizarre. So that's one thing that's weird. Supposedly, Marissa got a hold of Smoke, the father of her children, and asked for money to get home. He supposedly cash dapped it to her. You know, not seen any evidence of that either. And then when you look at the NamUs profile, they have coordinates to a place on South English Street, which are not real. I mean, there's a house on that address, but that address they're using, those coordinates are using that for her and several other missing people cases. So, which is very frustrating because you've got other people trying to help with this search effort, and if the information in NamUs is not accurate, you're sending people on wild goose chases. So that's the other frustrating thing. But it's been so much said that when they went back to the Airbnb after she went missing, and that shovel was found with Tasha, Tasha said she didn't find it. Diamond Hairston found it. Diamond said Tasha found it. Who the hell knows? But now Diamond is out there doing a little rap song talking about knocking people's doors down and going after people. And I was told that Marissa and Mo were having a thing, which we already know that. It's been established they had a thing off and on. But that Diamond and Mo were having a thing. And Diamond got mad that supposedly Marissa was pregnant. Now, I'm sure I'm going to have the whole world coming after me. Marissa had her tubes tied, yada, 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 yada. I'm aware of that. But you can still get pregnant even with your tubes tied. It's rare, but it does happen. And that last picture of her and that gas station, the way she's standing, the way she is presenting herself, the way she's holding herself, I get the feeling she is pregnant. But again, I could be completely wrong. So, it's Halloween. Her kids are probably missing her greatly. There are no new leads or anything on this, except for the Diamond Hairston video. And now the tie to Diamond and Mo, and possibly a love triangle going on there. Marissa led a very risky life. And I say that not to shame her, not to, dirty her name, but to demonstrate that she lived a very risky life, that anything could happen to anybody. And until people that were with her that night actually start speaking up and telling the truth of what happened, she's never going to be found. Never. My gut, I do think those remains, those skeletal remains, are tied to Marissa. Whether they are Marissa or somebody else involved that night, that I don't know. But it could be a while before we hear anything on that, because they have to do a DNA match, and it could take a minute, especially when you're dealing with skeletal remains. But I don't know. Like I said, this case is very, very heart-wrenching, and it takes a lot out of you, especially when you start getting into conspiracy theories and motives and everything else going on. There's no way on earth that we can't find her. I mean, it's like she walked into a black hole and disappeared. And the other thing that I find interesting is that Sean drove her across the street from the Exxon to the Cumberland Courts. I showed you where the Exxon to the Cumberland Courts was. I showed you in a video. Why would he need to drive her across the street? Make that make sense. None of that makes any sense. Somebody knows what happened to her that night. Somebody knows. And nobody's talking. Now, the clothing with the remains also tells me that one of two things. If it is Marissa that is there, and I'm not saying it is, if it is her that is there, the clothes that were with those skeletal remains were not the clothes she was last seen in. That means one of two things. Either A, she did not pass away or become unalived that night, or they put her there and they put the clothes there to throw people off. I don't know. But somebody needs to talk. Because this is getting downright ridiculous. And I think Diamond Harrison knows a lot. I know Janaja knows what happened. Smoke knows what happened. So let's go back over the suspect list. Because now you've got Mo, which I've talked about at length about Mo. And Smoke, we all know the domestic violence and the kids being in foster care and all that. That's been a lot. Then you've got Naja, who's supposed to be the best friend who left her. You know, that's not a best friend thing. Then you got Tasha, the cousin who did all the driving, but yet showed up at the search party with Smoke in her car. Little bizarre. Has a lot of issues, so who knows what's going on with that. Let's see, who am I forgetting? Then you got Jersey, the guy who picked her up from the bar and took her to the Exxon. Was he there? Does he know what happened? Or was he just a patsy? Or is he just one part of an intricate machine of getting women separated from their friends? And then Shawnee Leely, the last person to see her. How has he not been thrown into a chair and sweated? You can't, I don't think he tried to get her alone and try to kidnap her, because I know that's the narrative that Sarah likes to put out there, that he is the reason she's missing. Because my thing is, if he is trying to make her disappear, why did he let her use the phone? His phone at that. That make sense. There's so many aspects of this that doesn't make any sense. Then there's that Justin guy that she was dating and got picked up with him when he was doing some crazy driving and he got arrested. And that was literally 3 weeks before she went missing. And he had a fiance. That could be a possible motive in this. Everybody of her female friends that she was friends with, that she rolled with, had very complicated feelings about her. Simply because they grew up together, they were all friends, but she did not know how to not hit on, sleep with, date, screw around with other people's boyfriends. I'm a chick. I understand how that goes. You're talking, somebody will kill somebody over something like that. It's crazy how that all works. So, and then you look at her past. There was that guy, that Jonathan White, guy she dated right before she got with Smoke. Jonathan and Smoke were very, very good friends, best friends. And Jonathan and Marissa got into a altercation, and then a few hours later, Jonathan's killed. Could something from that far in the past be coming up in the future, or in the present, causing a problem? Because sometimes when people die, people hold grudges for a long time. So, yeah, I don't know. And now we gotta add Diamond Harrison to the list, because I didn't know about this connection to Mo. That she had a thing for him, and that they were friendly. So now Diamond. She obviously wants to be a thug. She's putting herself out there like she's a thug. Wouldn't surprise me at all if she was, she did something like this to give herself some street cred. You hear about people doing that stuff. But those are my thoughts. on Marissa. You know, on one hand, I want the remains to be her. So there's an end, there's closure. But at the same time, if they are her, that means she is definitely gone. And that, for her kids' sake, I don't want that to be the case. I want her to be found. I want her to be alive. I want her to have her children back and have a chance to be a better mother. You know, unlike how she was raised by the woman she was raised by, you know. You know, the more I find out about Marissa's growing up and her childhood, it just tells me she just never stood a chance in life. She just didn't. You know, people were just against her from the get-go. And like I said, I'm not trying to talk ill of her, but it's just the reality of the situation of what she was facing. I mean, she's got 2 warrants out for arrest right now. One for assault, which I can't find any information on that guy at all. Adam Blake Brown, I think is what his name, or Adam Blake Brown. No idea what happened there. And then one for drugs, yeah, which is marijuana, which it's whatever. So, and then here's the other thing. I'm doing some research on the Atlanta child murders because I'm going to add that to my, I'm going to do a big series on that in my newsletter that I'm sending out. Which, by the way, everybody, if you want the newsletter, message me, email me at newsletter@redtruecrime.com. I will get that out to you. But, Marissa, I was watching that. I was listening to that. And for those of you who don't know what that's about, in 1979 in Atlanta, black children went missing and were found murdered. And a lot of them, 99% of them were male. I think there was like 1 or 2 females, but most of them were male. And these disappearings and killings went from 1979 to 1981. And the guy that went to jail for it, he actually went to jail for the last 2 people that were found, and they were adult men, but they were very short. They were like almost childlike because they were just short. He was never convicted of the children itself, but it's been assumed that he did all the other kids. Where am I going with this? As I was listening to it, I was listening to the parents of these children that were missing and found dead. When they would call the police would blow them off. The police were like, oh, we're understaffed. Oh, we don't have enough men. We don't have enough people. And when you see that, when you hear that, it's like, oh my God, that is just like Greensboro all over again. Because Greensboro, it's the same thing. We don't have enough manpower. We don't have enough people. We don't have the money. We don't have the time. When is this excuse going to get done with? Because I don't understand how we don't have enough people. I don't understand how we don't have the money for what we pay in property taxes and state taxes and federal taxes. We should have more cops. So it was just, it's weird. It's like you have Atlanta, major city, and they were short on people. And that's what the mothers were saying. Like, yeah, you know, we weren't getting the help. We weren't getting the assistance. You know, it took the FBI to come in to help get the cops in order to figure out what was going on. And they caught a guy, and they arrested a guy, and when that guy went away, it all stopped. But there's a lot of people who don't think the guy that they put away is the guilty person. He may be guilty of some of it, not all of it. That I don't know. That's what I'm working on right now. But it's crazy how the similarities between the 2 cases with police involvement. Because police do not call you back. Now we know they're not putting in correct addresses in Amos. Now we know there are more young women just missing that's not being reported like it should, especially the minors. They're not being reported. No one's looking for them. How big does this go? So this is where my tinfoil hat thing comes in at this point. Because I will say this. It's hard to see the numbers, because when you do the research I do and you see the names and you see the ages and you see the physical descriptions and you see the areas where they're going missing, and you look and there's no social media presence, there's nothing on Crime Stoppers. I know NamUs takes some time to get stuff in, but there are people that have been missing for months that are not on NamUs. And if they're missing from Greensboro, if they're missing from Guilford County, why aren't they being put into NamUs? Why? None of it makes sense. But and because of the human trafficking issue that is so prevalent in this country, and how bad it is, especially in the state of North Carolina. How do we know that there is not one massive ring involving some of the police here in Greensboro? How do we know? We don't. Like I said, this is where the tinfoil hat thing comes in. But it's one of those things. It sounds ridiculous, but there's just enough simplistic truth to it where you might have to consider it for just a moment, that this could be a possibility. I don't think Marissa was part of a human trafficking thing. If she was going to be, I think something went wrong, and that is what happened to her. I truly believe smoke did something to her. That's my thought. I'm just going to stick to that. That is my belief on that. But yeah, this is a darn shame. All of it's a darn shame. Well, I'm going to hop off here. I have to get back to work. But go to my YouTube channel, redtruecrime.com. I'm not saying not .com. Red True Crime on my YouTube channel. And if you guys want a newsletter, I email them out like once a month. This one with the Atlanta child murders will probably be like once a week because it's so massively huge. But definitely send that, message me on Facebook or send me an email at newsletter@redtruecrime.com. Oh, shout out to the chick at Taco Bell on Monday that I ran into. She recognized me and was very nice. So, hello, Taco Bell lady. Thank you for the shout out. And shout out to you back. And yeah, so that's all I got right now. I'm going to hop off here. You all be safe. Have a great Halloween. Keep an eye on your kids. Don't eat too much candy. And just keep your eyes peeled, because you never know who you might see or what you might see. And my parting words, be weird, be rude, be safe. Have a great day. Rebecca, I'm out.